Then there's back-to-back speeding tickets, both over 90, and a missed arraignment. And now I'm like, okay, it's not just a drippy faucet. There's a real maturity. Again, if he was a receiver, I don't think I'd care.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting that you said you were out because of the speeding tickets. To me, that's such a minor thing. You were so high on him in terms of his completion percentage in OTAs, and I thought that was a little aggressive on your part. But with the speeding tickets, I got a speeding ticket the first night of the draft, my first year there. On draft pick, I don't love that it happened multiple times, but I do think that this is the first time he's been away from his dad, and there's gonna be some growing pains. Now, would I sell my stock on it like you are? Not because of a couple speeding tickets.
The Shedeurs Sanders speeding ticket controversy has taken a wild turn. And now, the media voices are clashing. Colin Cowherd, just like Kay Cabot and Rich Eisen, took a sharp dig at Shedeurs, questioning his maturity and leadership. But not everyone's buying it. Eric Manini stepped in and called it out right to Colin's face. He reminded Colin that just a few weeks ago, during OTAs, he was hyping Shedeurs for even the smallest things. Every throw, every movement. And now, over one mistake, you're suddenly switching sides and running at his back? The hypocrisy is real, and Manini isn't letting it slide. Manini didn't stop there. He made it clear that this incident isn't something that would turn the coaches against Shedeurs Sanders. In fact, he called it a normal offense, something typical for boys his age. He emphasized that this isn't about character or discipline issues, but rather a learning curve. Manini also pointed out something many might have overlooked. This is the first time Shedeurs has truly been out of his father's house, living independently. That kind of transition can come with a few bumps. Being away from Coach Prime, who's always been a strong presence in his life, could be a factor in small missteps like this. But Manini believes he'll get better at managing these things with time, maturity, and the right support around him. Manini then couldn't help but mock Colin Cowherd's dramatic claim that he's selling his stock in Shedeurs Sanders over this minor incident. With a smirk, the coach fired back. "You're selling stock over this? Really?" He went on to reflect on the current quarterback situation in Cleveland, pointing out how shaky things look over there. According to Manini, if anything, Shedeurs Sanders is exactly what Cleveland needs, a young, talented, composed quarterback with a high ceiling. "You think this speeding ticket is a red flag? For me, this is nothing," Manini said. "You don't throw away talent over a late-night traffic mistake." He made it clear that this moment isn't even close to a deal-breaker, and the way Cowherd is spinning it? Pure overreaction.
Not because of a couple speeding tickets, especially in light of the problems that Brown's quarterback room has had to deal with legally in the last few years. I mean, this is nothing.
Manini's statements also put a spotlight on a pattern with Colin Cowherd, one that's becoming harder to ignore. He reminded everyone how, just a short time ago, Colin was blowing Shedeurs' trumpet, praising him for every little move during OTAs. And now, with one misstep, he's flipped the script and is calling Shedeurs out like he's some sort of major problem. Manini hinted that this isn't the first time Colin has had to eat his words when it comes to Shedeurs Sanders. And if history tells us anything, he might have to do it again. Colin has previously criticized Shedeurs for his draft slide and even took shots at Coach Prime, questioning how his father's presence might be hurting his son's prospects.
Well, Eric Manini coached the Browns, and he still resides there, except for his bougie summers. And he is joining us now live, Eric Manini. So I have a feeling that you and I will disagree a little. During the break, you made an interesting point. So I tend to have the drip, drip, drip. This was my Johnny Manziel theory, is that everybody makes mistakes, especially when you're young. But if I see 2, 3, 4, 5, then you've got a plumbing issue. It's not just you didn't close the faucet.
But here's where the contradiction becomes even more glaring. As soon as Shedeurs Sanders started making his presence felt during OTAs, Colin Cowherd quickly shifted gears. He began praising Shedeurs again, this time declaring that he should be the first pick at the quarterback position for Cleveland. Colin went so far as to call Shedeurs one of the best quarterbacks on the Browns roster, putting him ahead of both veteran Joe Flacco and rookie Dillon Gabriel. According to Colin, Shedeurs had the poise, the mechanics, and the football IQ to be Cleveland's first-team quarterback. So how does someone go from being your number one guy to a complete write-off over a single speeding ticket?
Despite the fact that Shedeurs Sanders had the fewest attempts, he was the most efficient and most productive with the fewest reps. So the quarterback tracker for those radio audience members, Flacco was 9 for 14 and a touchdown. Pickett, 9 for 16, no touchdown. Dillon Gabriel, 11 of 16, 2 touchdowns and a pick. And Sanders, 7 of 9, 3 touchdowns, no picks.
That's the inconsistency Manini called out. It's not just about Shedeurs. It's about how quick some analysts are to jump on or off the bandwagon, depending on the headlines of the day. And Colin isn't the only one who got exposed in all of this. Kay Cabot also found herself facing heavy backlash after she blew the entire incident out of proportion, labeling Shedeurs Sanders as reckless and questioning his maturity. But things quickly spiraled in the other direction. Fans and even former players started digging into her own background, and what they found hit hard. People began pointing out her own family's criminal record, accusing her of using a double standard when it comes to judging others, especially young athletes like Shedeurs. The criticism was brutal and relentless, with many calling out the hypocrisy of her commentary. It became clear to many that this wasn't about holding someone accountable, it was about pushing a narrative. And just like that, Kay Cabot went from being the voice of judgment to being under judgment herself. Stephen A. Smith also stepped in to defend Shedeurs Sanders, urging the public, and especially the media, to keep things in perspective. Speaking on his show, Stephen A. didn't excuse the speeding ticket, but made it clear that it's far from a character-defining moment. "It's not that big of a deal," he said bluntly, stressing that young people make mistakes like this all the time. What mattered, he argued, was how someone responds and learns from it, not the mistake itself. Stephen A. emphasized that these kinds of lapses shouldn't lead to over-the-top judgment or attempts to tear down someone's entire reputation. "When it comes to speed, we've all made that mistake, whether we're young or old," he said, calling out the double standard that often surrounds athletes, especially those in the spotlight like Shedeurs.
You know who you are. You know what your pedigree is. You got to watch yourself. But in the same breath, y'all, when it comes to speeding, I mean, damn, there's a whole bunch of us, regardless of age. That ain't got nothing to do with maturity. A whole bunch of us make those mistakes.
Shedeurs Sanders, on the other hand, showed exactly why so many people continue to believe in his character. He stepped up and took full accountability for his actions. Unlike many who deflect blame or make excuses, Shedeurs faced the situation head-on, accepting his mistake without offering any lame justifications. In a composed and mature statement, he acknowledged the seriousness of what happened and made it clear that he understood the responsibility that comes with being in the spotlight. He didn't try to downplay the incident, he owned it. More importantly, he promised to learn from the experience and assured everyone that this kind of lapse in judgment wouldn't happen again. On the other hand, this speeding ticket had little to no impact on Shedeurs Sanders' supporters and loyal fan base. While critics and media personalities were busy dissecting every angle of the incident, those who genuinely admire Shedeurs showed unwavering love and loyalty. Just a day after the story broke, Shedeurs was spotted at David Njoku's celebrity softball game, smiling, relaxed, and completely unbothered by the media noise. Fans surrounded him with nothing but positivity, taking photos, chatting, and cheering him on like nothing had changed. There was no tension, no awkwardness, no judgment, just pure, genuine support. For them, this wasn't a scandal worthy of outrage. It was a young man making a common mistake, owning up to it like an adult, and moving forward. The way Shedeurs carried himself spoke volumes. and so did the way his community responded.
Just days after being cited for driving 101 miles per hour in Ohio, Shedeurs Sanders was all smiles on the softball field. At David Njoku's celebrity softball game, the Browns rookie QB showed up to entertain, not to dwell on legal issues. Fans in the stands made it clear they still believe in him. One young supporter yelled, "Your QB won. They won." And Sanders took that energy straight to the plate, confidently swinging like he belonged there.
In the end, former Cleveland coach Eric Manini effectively silenced Colin Cowherd's harsh and inconsistent stance on Shedeurs Sanders. By calling out the media's double standards and defending Shedeurs' character, Manini shifted the tone of the conversation. What's even more telling is how the support for Shedeurs is growing louder. People who were once quiet are now stepping up to shut down the overblown criticism. From LaShawn McCoy to Stephen A. Smith, the narrative is being corrected in real time. And while all this unfolds, Shedeurs isn't rattled. He's not responding with frustration or defensiveness. Instead, he's enjoying his time off the field, surrounded by NFL stars, engaging with fans, and living like a young man who knows who he is. This incident hasn't shaken him. It's only revealed the strength of the support around him and his ability to rise above the noise with quiet confidence. What do you think about the way this entire situation unfolded? Was Colin Cowherd too quick to turn on Shedeurs Sanders after previously praising him? Do you believe Eric Manini was right to call out the hypocrisy in the media's reaction? Why is it that some critics only focus on off-field mistakes when there's nothing negative to say about a player's performance? And does the growing wave of support for Shedeurs from respected voices like Stephen A. Smith and LaShawn McCoy show a shift in how we view young athletes and their growth? Let us know. Are the critics being fair, or is this just another case of the media pushing a narrative?